have my file open for page 160, lesson 7, project 7-5. This is performing a management filter for Tailspin remote drone project. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're working with Microsoft Project is once you have the schedule in and you've assigned resources and you have linked and you have input your resource assignments, in other words, you have assigned the resources to tasks, a lot of what the PM is going to be doing later is just looking at and reviewing items. And that's what we're doing in this case is we want to review all the tasks that are assigned to Frank Zane. But of course, we're not only looking at Frank's, but we're looking at the ones that are assigned to Frank and Judy Liu at the same time, okay? Because it says that Frank is one of the driving forces behind the behind the project, and is Judy's boss. So we want to make sure that we have the required presentations ready on those days. So we want to go ahead and take a look and see where these tasks are for Frank and Judy. So we're basically just building a view. And when we build the view, it's just applying a filter. And if you are familiar with working with Excel, you know that in Excel you can apply a lot of different filters. So if these things were in Excel, we would be applying a filter to look for the tasks that Frank and Judy were assigned to, and we would be doing that in Excel, which works very similar in Microsoft Project. It's just showing just a little bit differently, and that's what we're going to do. Now, the first thing that we have to do, and unfortunately the book doesn't tell you to do that, and you may have had a little bit of problems because it does open up right away in the resource sheet view. And what we want to do before we apply our filter is we want to get over in the Gantt chart view because we want to be able to see all our tasks, okay? So once we're in the Gantt chart view, where I just clicked on that first button and I see that I'm in the Gantt chart, okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here to where it says filter, okay? Filter is based on the selected criteria. Now keep in mind, when you put filters on, you're not losing anything or removing anything from the schedule. All you're doing is viewing certain areas of the schedule that you want to see. So we're going to click the little down arrow here because we want to go to more filters, because we're going to build our own filter in here so that we can just look for what we want to look for at this current time. So I'm going to go here into new, and I'm going to type the senior management task filter. Of course, you can name these anything that you want, but I would be really careful in the naming convention so that once you save these, and if you quickly wanted to go back in and look at this filter, it will be in the list, and then you can just quickly go in and click on it and be able to see the data that you want to see, which is Frank and Judy's tasks. Okay, so now that I have typed the name in, now we're going to go down and pick out the criteria, because we have to tell the filter what we're looking for, okay? Because it's not going to know what we're looking for unless we indicate so. So we're going to put in here that we want the resource name, okay? And you can start typing it, and be careful about, you don't want a group, we want a name. So I'm going to make sure I type in resource names, okay? You could always click the down arrow and search for it through the whole list of all these things that they have in there, but it's pretty easier just to start typing what you're looking for, the field. Okay, now we have to test the criteria, which is actually just telling it, okay, I want to find some, I'm looking for resource names, so I want it to contain, okay? So we're going to have contain, and then our value is going to be Frank, because we're actually looking for tasks involving Frank. Okay, so we're going to go Frank Zane. And just be careful that you do spell it correctly, because it will come up also here in your list. You could always just click on him from your list, or when you start typing his name, it should start populating that value box. Okay, so we told the filter that we're looking for tasks relating to Frank, but we also want to find tasks where he's assigned with Judy as well. So we're going to click the little down arrow and say and, because we want to find Frank and Judy. Okay, so now I'm going to just click here and whoops, let me click out of there. It's easier just to type in there, but make sure you don't get the resource group. Make sure you get the resource name again. Okay, and then for the test column, we want to make sure we also get contains, okay, because we want to make sure that we're getting Judy. And then in our value box, we're looking for Judy. So let's type in there Judy Lou, or you can, of course, go through your little drop down arrow and locate Judy and click on Judy. Okay, so now, since we have the criteria in there now that we're looking for, we can go ahead and save this filter. And remember, you're just turning filters on and off. You're not going to be affecting any of the data or any of the data, the stuff that's in project already. We're just viewing it in a certain way. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and click apply. All right, so now that I have built my filter, what I want to do now is, you'll notice up here in the box, no filter is turned on. So I'm going to click my little down arrow and I'm going to go ahead and turn this filter on. And you'll notice in the custom area that there is the most recent. So you can go ahead down and go through the list and find your senior management task filter and just click on apply. Okay, so now you can see that it came up with task 45, 47, 52. I can't really see anything going on here in my timeline, so whenever you kind of get something blank, always go down to the bottom here and scroll over until you see some task activities here. So here you can now see the 3 tasks that Judy and Frank are both assigned to. So then you can go forward and deep dive into these a little bit further and see what was the reasoning of why you were looking for this in the first place, which it says you want to make sure that they have the required presentations ready on those days. So what you could do is click and scroll your little bars over here, get that little double-headed crossbars, and then you can see, okay, let me check with Frank and Judy and make sure they're on task for a presentation on the 23rd of April and the 29th and also the 30th. So that could involve an email, verbal conversation, something like that, just to be sure that they are on task for making sure that the presentations are ready for those days. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on save.